Can a show be perfect? And if so, what does that sound, or what does that say about a show that is antithetical to the message of the perfect show? You've been hitting me with some really good questions, Nikki, and I respect it. Thank you. I'm not sure I'm able to give you the answers in which you might ultimately be seeking, but okay. So hold on. Let's ponder this question for a moment, shall we? You're saying, can a show be perfect? I'm gonna say, correct me if I'm going too far off for the question. Can a story be perfect? And if so, what does that say about a show that is antithetical to the message of the perfect show? Okay. So can a show be perfect? And if so, what does that say about a show that is so okay, hold on one second. I'm gonna compare. I think I have a direct comparison here. I'm contemplating the relationship between Evangelion and Gurren Lagann. Okay, I need context on that. That's an interesting conversation point, but I'm curious where you're going with that. So, can you have a perfect story? Maybe. That's going to be within the eye of the beholder. But what does it say about a show or a story that is the opposite, basically, or the direct opposite or contrast to the message of a perfect show or story? Okay, I'm going to give you a bit of an example, and I don't know if this is, again, specifically what you're looking for, but there's a game called Pathologic, excuse me, not Path of Logic, but if I'm not mistaken, they're Ukrainian devs or they're Russian devs. I'm not sure, but somewhere like in that region. And minor spoilers, not really to the story, but at one point you actually get to have a conversation with the devs in game. And one of the points that they bring up, or the questions you can ask, is, well, the game just wasn't very fun. And the sort of counter to by the devs was, what says games are supposed to be fun? This is a story. Stories aren't always meant to be fun. They're supposed to, they're supposed to be an experience. Those experiences don't always have to be exciting. They don't always have to be, positive. And it's like, well, yeah, but you think that's kind of, in your words, antithetical to a product that wants to be sold. In this case, a video game. So it's like, okay, well, you're actively trying to make your story, your idea, or the ideas are really interesting, but the devs themselves are not setting out to make a fun experience. Also, Caden, welcome in. Gonna be lurking for a few minutes? All good. Welcome in. Appreciate you popping in. Hopefully you're having a good day so far. And that's interesting, because if you're trying to, like, I feel like most people are not necessarily striving to create the perfect story, the perfect narrative like that. I don't know if that's necessarily the thing that's like going through their mind when trying to write a story, because I think the idea of perfection, especially in the arts, is such a loosely defined thing. Perfection itself is something that we all would like to attain, but when it comes to the arts, that is completely subjective. I could make the argument that let's talk about this. We were talking about this a couple of days ago regarding the soundtrack between the different Doom games and comparing it to Killer Instinct. Both made by Mick Gordon, the composer and the artist behind it. Both incredible soundtracks. But I made the comparison that Doom 2016 versus Doom Eternal, I remember, and I specifically sought out more tracks from Doom 2016 than Doom Eternal, like out in the wild. I just listened to more of them. And even comparing it to Killer Instinct, I made the argument that Killer Instinct is some of Mick Gordon's best work he's ever done. But that's completely subjective. I can give you hard examples of why I think this is the best work. For example, with the Inferno theme. Also, thank you, Dux. The Inferno theme, I think, there are so many nods to the original soundtrack, which all of the tracks are originally referencing. The music, the pacing of the song, you continuously get this like ramp up, but it delivers on that crescendo each time. But you are continuously expecting it's like, oh, they can't go any higher than this. They can't outdo themselves in their own soundtrack. It's like, but he does. And that's impressive. That's incredible. Not just even involving the video game portion of it. You take the video game portion in the integration of the soundtrack into the game, whether we're talking about Doom or Killer Instinct, both of them have what's it called? There's an actual term for it, but modulated soundtracks, essentially. So when the action is crazy, you're gonna get more of the instruments showing. You're gonna get more impact. You're gonna get more bass, more, everything like that. The full soundtrack is going to present itself. When things are slower, you're not gonna get as much. You're just gonna get maybe like a little bit of the background to it. But that's where kind of like to me, it was like these hit really hard even without the game. They stand by themselves on their own merit, irrelevant of the game. And I think that was the big difference that I made when talking about Killer Instinct soundtracks versus the Doom soundtracks. They're both incredible, but I feel like a lot of Doom soundtracks need that, in your face gameplay to really cement that sensation, to really complete the soundtrack. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's the way I felt when talking about and experiencing the Doom soundtrack, specifically the Doom Eternal soundtrack. But in the Killer Instinct, those were songs that stood by themselves. Looping it back to your question there, can a show be perfect? And if so, does that say what does that say about a show that is antithetical to the message of the perfect show? If a show can be perfect, it will be perfect to specific people. Can it be a perfect, well-regarded, like everybody's gonna like it? Like every person ever? No. You will always get detractors to something great. Even if they might at their core agree that it is an incredible piece of media, there will still be detractors who will put it down for whatever reason. I'm not saying like, oh, well, there's like a corporate thing. It's like, no, people will find a reason. I didn't quite like how that was paced. I didn't really like the way that this actor delivered this line. There will always be some way of, nitpicking it away so that it's not 100%. I know some people that say the Lord of the Rings movies are some of the best films ever made. However, whenever you talk to a lot of people, it's like, yeah, the first one's really good. Last one's really good. And then, the Two Towers, it's like, it drags on a lot. It's not bad, but it drags. The reason I ask is because people like to put Evangelion on a pedestal. It's a highly pessimistic anime that I came to understand with an allegory for how humanity was powerless to overcome their fate despite how hard they struggled. Gurren Lagann, by contrast, is absolutely the counter argument to that. Its message is you might fail, but you will never know unless you try. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Had a had to cough for a second there. Okay. So now, okay, now I understand a little bit. I can sort of refine what I was saying, because I think it was too open-ended of a question that I was kind of going all over the place. So I apologize, Nikki. When comparing those directly in terms of contrasting them, it's the I like them both though. Yeah, and you absolutely can. Absolutely you can. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Just in this comparison between the, you'll never know until you try, or like you can't succeed unless you try. But the pessimistic view of just like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, we as humans, we as organics will die. We will end our struggle. Ultimately, the true pessimistic view is, what's the point? If death is a constant and that is a matter of fact of life, that death exists, what is the point? And the opposite is, well, if you are given a life, then why not do something with it? It's I can't remember the scene, but there's a scene that I've seen a bunch, where it's a scene I've seen a bunch. Great choice of words. But anyway, there's a particular scene in a show that has come across my radar quite a few times. There, reworded it. With the notion of, okay, if life is pointless, treat it like a movie, basically. If you're sitting enjoying a movie and you're really enjoying it, why don't you just turn it off? Well, because it doesn't matter. The movie's going to end, so what's the point? Well, you can, the joy about it, whether it's the thing, you can try, and you'll never know unless you try. The whole argument is you can keep trying. The only time you stop being able to try is when you officially give up. You can rewatch that movie. You can gain new insights from it, from watching it more than once, from talking to different people and gaining more points of view and different things that you never would have thought of. But the contrast to those two ideas is also kind of what makes them so interesting, in the sense that, hold on. Okay, here's a quote. I know it because I recently heard it from Skyrim. It's a philosophical question. What is better, to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort? I love that idea. I think that is a wonderful mindset to be in. You have to prove yourself. You have to work towards things. Nothing is simply given to you. You are not born good. You are not born evil, but it's the choices that you make and the work that you put in that make you good, bad, an artist, an architect, a runner, a athlete. Does the constant change of you will die at the end versus does it matter if you try? The constant is still there, but the difference is did you try or not? Did you make something of yourself in your brief time? And that's why I like trying to learn. I like trying to question my preconceived notions. I like opening dialogues with people I might disagree with. Is everybody going to, at the end of the day, all become unified and we're all going to be like, ah, yes, this is clearly the right answer? No. As I said earlier, the same thing with the chasing perfection in a movie. No. People will always have differing points of view. My ideal is maybe not the ideal of someone else's, however, but by combining our ideas, we could come to a better understanding, mutual respect, or improve our own ideas and our own ideals based on that share of knowledge. So, do I think... The reason I ask because people like to put Evangelion on a pedestal. I think Evangelion does deserve its pedestal to a degree. The reason why I've actually had this discussion with several people regarding Evangelion specifically. The reason why Evangelion kind of goes down in the rankings in regard for me personally is because while I respect the author trying to chase the perfect ending, I kind of there's a part of me that's a little, I don't even know the word that I'd necessarily use, not resentful, not anything like that, but there's a little bit of a irritation, I suppose. I'm not quite sure how to put my feelings into words on this, but he's trying to rewrite his story so many times, trying to find the right answer. And the question I pose to people who say like, oh, well, you know, why shouldn't he do that? My response to that is, imagine how many other stories and imagine how much closer he could have potentially gotten if he had just kept writing stories and different stories. Because I think what ended up happening with his experience with Evangelion was that was his crowning achievement, and he was constantly chasing it. And I respect it. Like, I understand, like, there is that, I want to find, like, this is my child, this is my thing, this is, I want to find perfection. But at the same time, there is also a beauty in flaws. In every single iteration, every single version, every single change of the grander narrative of Evangelion has spawned more problems. So, if something isn't working, don't just try and force, you know, different puzzle pieces into the same spot. Move to a different part of the puzzle. If you can't figure out what's going wrong on this specific side of the puzzle, move to a different side. Work somewhere else, then you can return to it. So, it's not to say you can't return to it. By all means, return to it. If this is something you're truly passionate about, it is something you truly love, then by all means. But whether it's writing or running a marathon, you can't expect to just on exam day, on, you know, the delivery day, on the day for the big marathon, to just spend no time training and be able to do it every single time. You might be able to do it once, you might even be able to do it twice, but without the practice, without the experience, your chances are diminishing. So, practice writing, make different stories, make different characters, do all of this. There's tons of stories about the ideas of, you know, the pessimistic view, but, like, I mean, take for example, a series like Berserk. Berserk definitely has a very grim view, but there is also a wholesomeness to it. There is an understanding of the humanity at its core. So, yeah. Hopefully that was what you're looking for, Nikki. I apologize. I may have gone way off the range of what you were actually looking for and actually asking, but hopefully my ponderings weren't weren't too out there. Really, thank you for hearing my musings. This has been a really fun chat. I love your input on these thought experiments. By all means. I have a thought about it, but I am worried my English is not good enough to give a comprehensive, coherent answer. Give it a try. Go for it, Zach. I'm happy to hear you. You were just talking about one of my favorite topics, life and death. It's a topic that is very much ingrained in all of our psyches, whether we fully acknowledge it or not. You know, so it's a reality, and you know, I'm not afraid of the topic and having an open dialogue about it. I think Hollow Knight and Silksong are the greatest games I've ever played, and I can give many reasons as to why, but not everyone can accept it. That's fair, Snorf. Yeah. But people are, but if someone is, okay, hold on. I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna continue. But I think this is kind of a problem in the general media literacy landscape. Now, I'm not going to do this as much justice. So here, I'm going to give you, I'm going to post a video in the chat here. Go listen to this video, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. Hang on one second. Okay, I'm gonna post this in the chat. But my 2 cents on this is, and I very much actually agree with this video. This is a video called "The Death of Media Literacy and How Standardization Has Reduced Creativity in Game Development." This is a video from Josh Strife Hayes, but is on his Josh Strife Says channel. If you've not watched anything from Josh Strife Hayes, please go check out his stuff. He's a fantastic content creator, and I think he's an extremely well-spoken individual. But the idea that everything has to, like, the critique that this thing sucks, this thing is terrible, this thing is bad. Well, why? What is the reason for it? What is the, like, there has to be a point of engagement, and I feel like we're losing that a lot of the time. It's so often that you see that there's so many people on YouTube, there's so many people on social media in general that will just roll up to a game and says it sucks, it's bad. Why? What is your argument for this? Because again, like we were saying earlier, even a perfect game in someone's eyes, you could make an argument why it is not perfect. Even something that is terrible, inherently broken. There are plenty of games that are buggy, janky, unfinished messes. But people still find enjoyment in those games. Does that mean that they're completely unredeemable games and, you know, should be erased from the face of history? I don't know. Does it? If you derive some sort of pleasure from it, does that mean it should be kept? Is it no longer terrible? Is it no longer good? Where do we sit in that? Why do we have to have the binaries of good and bad thing? Because as we know, with people in general, stories, everything, things are very rarely black and white. Things are very rarely good, bad. You know? And I like having that discussion. So I won't prattle on about all of these musings. I highly recommend you check out that video. It's very, very good. It will do... Josh will do far better justice than what I'm trying to say. Measure the question Nikki made. I like philosophical, reflecting spoken mode. I try. The thing about Gurren Lagann, though, is where Shinji gets to pick the ultimate fate of humanity. Simon ends his journey and passes the torch to the next generation. Yeah. Well, and that's again, that's tied into the idea that Shinji's choice is, well, there is no choice. There is no, like, entropy is a matter of fact. The difference in Gurren Lagann is passing on to the torch. That is the next generation. That is the next, you know, your children. There will be, even if me, spoken, were to up and die tomorrow, streaming will not stop. There will be countless other channels going on. There'll be countless other people on YouTube. There'll be countless other people trying to share their stories, have intellectual conversations. I'm but a small drop in a very large pond, but at the same time, what I try and do, and what I think a lot of people try and do when telling stories, sharing ideas, and all of this, is essentially trying to pass on the torch in ideas, in memories, you know? So it's the difference in outlook. You don't succeed if you don't try. They're carrying on the next step of the journey. If you don't succeed, maybe your kids can, your friends can, the people who you talk to can. You know, the spark of inspiration, the spark of motivation can affect anyone. It doesn't have to be family necessarily. Passing on the torch is a general thing, not necessarily to my kids or your kids or anything like that, a family member. It could just be a friend. It could be someone you never met before. How many people do you know that you have never shared a single word with, but you'd heard them speak? You've heard them compose a piece of music, write a story, present a film, and that has inspired you. Will humanity survive? It's an open-ended question, but the journey fighting that fate was a ride. Exactly. Exactly. Hegelian gives the fate of mankind to one person, but Gurren Lagann gives it to the masses. I could pull up a lot of inverted elements, and I just view their experiences as two philosophers having an argument. Yeah, very much. And that's a good way of looking at it, Nikki. I like that.
Drink water, you dehydrated.
Oh, thank you, Hans. All right. Well, let's return to Hollow Knight. Second time I've said I've rambled on for too long. To be honest, you haven't rambled enough. Oh, don't tempt me.